Significant historical shifts rarely happen in a vacuum. Usually, they are the result of decades of pressure accumulating until a single day provides the mechanism for a sudden release. In 1866, July 28th was a quiet milestone, the birth of children's author Beatrix Potter. 2 years later, the same date marked a shift in American law when the 14th Amendment was certified, establishing the legal definition of citizenship. But in 1914, the date became the anchor for a conflict that would mobilize 70 million military personnel and redraw the map of the world. The official entry for that day is concise: 1914, World War I. In the culmination of the July crisis, Austria-Hungary declares war on the Kingdom of Serbia and begins the Great War. This one sentence contains the specific entities, political failures, and military actions that led to a global collapse. By looking at the individual components of this statement, we can find exactly where the peace failed. The sentence begins with a specific time frame: the July crisis. This wasn't a sudden explosion, but a month of simmering diplomatic friction following the assassination of an archduke in June. Europe's major powers were tied together by a complex network of mutual defense treaties, meaning any regional spark could be pulled into a wider continental fire. The culmination happened when those diplomatic cables stopped working. It was the moment when every peaceful option was removed from the table. Understanding this crisis phase is vital because it shows that by July 28th, the political environment was already fully optimized for a disaster. The record then identifies the specific trigger: Austria-Hungary declares war on the Kingdom of Serbia. At this stage, the conflict was localized. It involved a massive empire and its smaller neighbor across a shared border. The Austro-Hungarian leadership viewed Serbia as a regional threat and intended to use the assassination of their heir as a reason to exert permanent military control over their neighbor. The formal declaration ended all political posturing. It committed both nations to a physical mobilization that could not be easily reversed. On July 28th, soldiers and logistics moved from training grounds to active combat positions along the frontier. This localized mobilization served as the mechanical trigger. It forced the rest of Europe's alliance systems to decide whether they would honor their treaties or watch the balance of power shift. This leads to the final result: the beginning of the Great War. Because Russia moved to support Serbia, Germany was pulled in to support Austria-Hungary, which in turn forced France and Britain to activate their own defenses. This headline from just 1 week later shows how quickly the fire spread. By August 5th, the conflict had officially expanded to include the British Empire. The scale of the fighting soon moved into the trenches, where millions of soldiers faced years of attrition in the mud. The war was defined by industrialized hardware. These batteries of heavy artillery could sustain barrages that lasted for days, changing the nature of combat. By the time it was over, the European landscape was littered with the shells of destroyed cities and the collapse of 4 major empires. July 28, 1914, proves how a localized failure in diplomacy between 2 neighbors can provide the spark that eventually ignites the entire globe.